Welcome, everyone. This is the second of three Idaho Soil Health 5 for 5s of this season. My name is Lucille Rollins. I'm a soil health specialist with NRCS Idaho based in Boise. And my co-facilitator today is Courtney Cosden, who is hosting the room and with University of Idaho Extension. She's a soil health educator. So today we have five speakers sharing five slides in about 5 minutes on their respective soil health tools. This particular event evolved to include more speakers talking about soil health assessment and soil health testing, because those are a new focus of the Regen pilot program, which was released by the USDA in December. So this roundtable will be recorded and then made available on the University of Idaho YouTube page. And then today we're doing segmented Q&A sessions. So I'll help guide those and let you know when we're going to have the Q&A session. So we'll have 3 of those. And as we move through the presentations, if you have questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat or hold on to them and then save them to share directly with the speakers when we have their Q&A session. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand the reins over to our first set of speakers. We have Kristen Veum with the ARS and Matt Yost from Utah State University sharing more with us about SHAPE, and their Q&A session will follow Matt's presentation. So Kristen, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, great. Well, good morning. And today I'm excited to share background on the SHAPE Soil Health tool and our new initiative, Probing Our Country's Soil Health. Okay, so even though farmers and ranchers have an intuitive sense of soil health and what it means for long-term production goals, for many decades, we didn't have good tools to measure soil health or to put those measurements in context. And, most farmers and ranchers want to know their soil health status along with the potential of their soil so that they can set soil health goals and make management decisions about how to improve their soil health. So to address this gap, a group of scientists from ARS, NRCS, Cornell, and the University of Missouri developed the SHAPE Soil Health Assessment Tool. And the most recent version, excuse me, the 1.0S version, was released in early 2025. And that tool allows us to compare scores across different soils and different site conditions. We can establish soil health benchmarks and set soil health goals, with the main focus on being able to interpret management, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the limitations of the current tool were the inspiration behind this nationwide initiative funded by NRCS Soil Health Division, and we named this effort Probing Our Country's Soil Health. The main goals of this effort are to expand that list of soil health measurements that can be scored in the SHAPE tool. So you'll see the 5 that are listed there that are currently available. And to improve coverage in the Western US and down south in particular, and then to also bring in more management information, because we know that better data means better decisions for farmers and ranchers. So to address that first point, as part of this initiative, we plan to measure over 24 different soil health tests covering important soil functions like water movement and erosion, biological activity, nutrient availability, and nutrient cycling. And these tests have all been selected because they can be offered by service labs, because they are high throughput, they're reliable, they're sensitive to management, and most importantly, they're also low cost. But just to be clear, a farmer or rancher will not have to measure all 24 of these different things to get a soil health assessment. We're expanding these options because we want to allow for more flexibility in choosing which soil health tests to measure. Another focus of this project is that we really wanted it to be farmer facing with real world soil and production information. So we want participation from real farmers, real ranchers, not just a bunch of research sites. And of course, one of the benefits of participation is that each farmer and rancher will receive a soil health report for their fields. But, again, I can't emphasize enough that we want real people, real farms, real ranchers, real data, so that this expanded SHAPE tool will have the best data to help farmers make the best decisions. So to accomplish this goal, we kicked off an amazing public-private partnership with AGES through the Center for Regenerative Agriculture to handle the boots on the ground portion of the project. So they are handling recruitment of landowners, conducting the management surveys, and collecting the soil samples, which then come to me. So we expect in total to collect between 13 and 14,000 soil samples over 3 years across all 50 states. We currently have over 500, or actually over 600 participating farmers and ranchers. We have completed over 1,400 surveys and sampled almost 900 fields over 22 states. So you can see by our map of current sites on the right, we still have more to do, especially out west and down south. So this is a good place for me to hand things over to Dr. Matt Yost to talk about plans for Idaho and the surrounding area. So thank you.
Kristen, let me just try to is geared up. Okay. Can you see it okay?
Yes, that looks great.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Wonderful introduction to the SHAPE tool and project. I worked with Kristen when I was in Missouri a few years ago, and also the owner of AGES, who is working with Kristen and her group to facilitate the sampling across the country, and that's how I became connected to this project. And so my role is as a facilitator, recruiter for the Western United States, and I've been for the last 6-7 months been working to try to help recruit participants from across the West. So Kristen talked about the goal of this project, so I won't belabor that, but really when I talk to people about enrolling, it's trying to make soil health more actionable, more relatable on farms and ranches across the country. So it will provide a benchmark, a reference for them to see how their soil health compares to other similar soils and systems hopefully in their region and close to home, given just the vast density of how we're trying to sample soils across the whole country. So I just wanted to kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts of how people participate. I see on this call many people who I've reached out to already and have helped spread the word. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. So just wanted to cover a few things here of how farmers and ranchers can participate. Participation is quite simple. It was designed to be that way. We ask that a participant sign up for a short Zoom call with one of the facilitators. There's several. So we send out a link. They click on the link. It takes them to a calendar. They can sign up for a time on the calendar to have a meeting. During that meeting, they'll be asked about management of their farm, a few fields on their farm for the past decade or so. The survey usually takes about 30 to 60 minutes. They walk through and they identify fields that they want to sample, and then look at the management of those fields, the location of those fields. And that's it. It's 30 to 60 minutes of time to share information about their farm, and then they're enrolled. After they're enrolled, a soil sampler will come out within about 3 to 6 months of that initial meeting, and we'll collect the soil samples. There's There is invitations for farmers and ranchers to be involved in that sampling. And in many cases, they love to do that, as you can see by many pictures of sites that have already been sampled. Deadlines for participating. I get this question a lot. We don't really have deadlines. The way that it was designed is we tried to allocate a rough number of fields per state to cover a diversity in soils, land use, and crop types, other conditions. Once we've kind of reached those rough limits, and in some cases exceeded them a little bit, we stop actively searching for participants, and at some point we have to start turning people away. But in general, we say sign up now and early because it's kind of a first come, first serve. Most states have at least 80 to 100 fields that we've allocated to sample. Some larger states have even more. What do farmers get for participating? They'll get a personalized report of the 24 indicators that Kristen mentioned. Very valuable. It costs a lot to do all of these analyses. We estimate about $1,200 in analysis per field that they receive. We do compensate them for their time. So for that 30 or 60 minutes that they spend in the survey, we'll send them a gift card, about $170. We try not to advertise that a lot because it invites spammers, but we do provide that. And then we're taking lots of pictures from across the country. You've seen some of them here in this presentation, and plan to put together a hard copy book of soils across the nation that will be sent to all of the participants as well. When will they see their soil health results? We get this question a lot. They're analyzed in batches, and as they're completed, we're trying to start sharing those. It will take time, months, to get everything analyzed and results shared, and will take even more time to kind of use those results, incorporate into the SHAPE tool, and then provide the tool publicly and widely, which will be in several years. But the initial results from farms, we'll try to get to them as soon as results are available. So that's it. That's how people participate. We'd love to have you help invite and encourage anyone that's interested to participate.
Well, thank you, Kristen and Matt. That sounds like a monumental effort to get more data and to build out a tool that farmers can use. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to share with Kristen and Matt? I'll kick us off with a question. I'm really curious, Matt, because your slides, I think, said that there will be an online app or a web app and a phone app eventually that's a product of SHAPE. Did I read that correctly? I'm curious what that will look like.
Yeah, Kristen can probably speak better to what the end tool would look like. Kristen, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so our hope is at the end, when we have this new and improved tool, that it will be available on an app, as well as currently it's available online, but it's a little bit clunky. So we want it to be user-friendly, and it'll be embedded on NRCS platforms as well. So it will be available in a lot of different formats because we want it to be user-friendly, and we know people like to use things in different ways. So that is our ultimate plan. And there was someone in the chat who messaged me directly. They said so Barry, are you out there? It says you signed up for the program, but no one has come. Can you tell me like where you're located when you signed up?
Kristen, most of the time, Barry's audio hasn't been working for the past 5 for 5s, and I assume that situation hasn't changed. It might be best. Normally, we just communicate with him in the chat.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll communicate with Barry then.
And I will say,
or if Barry wants, I can exchange numbers, and we can do that too.
Okay, sure.
And I will maybe just mention there, so oftentimes between the time that you sign up and the time that somebody comes to sample could be 3 to 6 months. So it could take quite a bit of time. If you could imagine trying to sample 13,000 fields across the country, and then people are signing up at different times in different places. And so the samplers are trying to wait until they have kind of a lot of fields in one area and then scheduling a trip to go and sample all of the fields of that area. So be patient. Someone should be coming.
And then a couple questions have come through in the chat. Julian asked, how are samples stored during the period between collection and testing, if there may be months between?
Kristen, do you want to take that one?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the samples are collected and they're shipped by UPS to my lab. And so every soil health test or measurement that we've selected is something that we can do on a dried soil sample. So we're not looking at, molecular data or anything that's really sensitive to the soil moisture or anything like that. So the samples come to me, we process them, we pull out the roots, the rocks, things like that. And then the sample is air dried so that it's stabilized. And ideally, we measure everything right away. I am still working on the contracts for the measurements that won't be done in my lab, but these are measurements that are considered robust to at least temporary storage over the course of maybe a few months. So hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristen. And then we have another question. Where do we direct interested farmers, ranchers to sign up?
Great question. So we do have a sign up link, and maybe I'll put that in the chat here so you have that. In general, I've been advertising just through emails and sending emails to lots of partners and having them forward those emails to others. We do have flyers that we passed around for people to pass out at meetings. Unfortunately, we don't really have a website you can go here and sign up. Basically, the sign up is the calendar tool where somebody would sign up for a time to do an interview. But I'll put that link in this chat and reach out to me if you'd like more information. Happy to share those details.
And did you say if there's a minimum acreage, if there's like any small acreage growers that want to participate, is there a minimum of acreage that you're looking for?
There is. Thanks, Courtney. It's 10 acres. So we're looking for fields that are greater than 10 acres. And that was a tough decision, but it was hard because we were getting some places getting really small kind of backyard gardens and things. And so we're trying to focus on a little bit larger areas and so have kind of settled on a 10 acre minimum.
Gotcha. Thanks, Matt.
So I've got one more question for you. With the Regen pilot program and the requirement of soil health testing, I know one question that's come up for folks is around the timing of sampling. And so I'm curious with the SHAPE project, it sounds like maybe it's just a certain amount of time after folks sign up. But what's your, I guess, approach to sampling timing?
Oh, well, so I can't speak specifically on what SEMA 216, I think Kabir will talk about that, but we know when the samples were collected, right? And so we will be able to look at seasonality if that's an important factor for some of these measurements. But we know exactly when and where everything was collected, so we can account for that if we need to.
Oh, and do you guys take the temperature and moisture content of the soil when you sample?
No, but again, if we needed that information, we would be able to get it from local weather information because again, we have that time and date stamp of sample collection.
Gotcha. Okay. Any more questions for Kristen and Matt? All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. And it looks like Matt shared the calendar link for folks that are interested. So not having any more questions, I'll go ahead and move to our next segment. We have Nate Stacey from Oregon State and Laura Kohtz from the city of Boise and Boise Urban Garden School to share with us about a couple of cover crop selection tools. So Nate, whenever you're ready, I'll let you take it away. And
Okay.
thank you to Kristen and Matt.
Is that working? Can you see my slide?
Yep, looks good.
Great. Thank you. I'm Nate Stacey. I work at Oregon State University, but I am also part of the Western Cover Crops Council. And if you're familiar with cover crop councils, the Western Cover Crops Council is the newest of four. So I think the first one was in the Midwest, and then the Northeast, and then the Southern Cover Crop Council. And this species selector is the last one to kind of finish out the nation for all the states with verified data from researchers, industry professionals like seed companies, farmers, state agencies, government agencies, and bringing all that information together. I put on here because there's no way for me to list all of the people who participated in this, but it's a project that came out of the NRCS and Precision Sustainable Agriculture. And then the Western Cover Crop Council itself actually covers 17 states. So we go from Alaska to Hawaii to Arizona, California, Idaho, all in between. There is actually a list on the webpage for you to see if you want to see who all the collaborators are. Suffice it to say that it was a large group of people over, I think, 3 to 4 years, gathering all this information, validating it, and then creating this in theory, user-friendly tool. So bottom right hand of this slide is a QR code that will take you, if you have your phone, to the Western Cover Crops Council, where you can then select a link to the cover crop selector tool, or you can just enter the information on the URL that's listed there, the covercropselector.org. And I'm going to walk you through this really quickly to give you just kind of a high level demonstration of what the tool can do, hopefully. When you get to that site, you have to pick the state you're in. The reason being is that the information that the tool is based upon, it uses local information, and then it also draws from the Web Soil Survey to provide soil information and precipitation data, frost data, and all that. So the tool actually won't let you go anywhere until you select your state. And then very broadly, you have two options from there. You can either get a recommendation, and I'm actually going to come back to that, or you can just browse cover crops. I'm going to start there because I often use just the browse cover crops when I'm just looking for some general information. So in this case, I've selected Oregon, and I'm now going to browse cover crops. What you're not going to see here is that it also asks you to select a location, and I skipped that part because it just didn't have enough slides, but it will allow you to pick an actual identified spot, create zones like you would on the Web Soil Survey if you wanted to create polygons for your farm or whatever it might be. But if you're just browsing the cover crops, it's going to bring up information on cover crops that are region specific and species that do well and have been validated in that area. Each one of these cards is going to give you a whole host of information, way too much information for me to go over, but I'll give an example here in a second. But I want to quickly draw your attention to the left-hand side of the screen, where you can select and filter through those cover crops by different traits. So you'll see if you kind of skip down about halfway into that box where it says basic agronomics, there are options in there like C to N ratio, its growth habit. Environmental tolerances would include if it does well in drought or flood. Growth is kind of going to be like how quickly it establishes in the scenarios when it's used as a cover crop. And the soil conditions will be particular to like what the soil type is. And then the weeds is going to allow you to filter on if that cover crop will become a weed under certain conditions, or how you have to think about it when you're managing it. But so essentially, you're getting yourself a list after selecting your state of all the cover crops that have been validated in that region, and you have this card of information. So if you select, if you select one of those cards like I've done here, I selected buckwheat, I get a series of pictures. We tried to get pictures of what the buckwheat would look like in various growth stages. It gives you a description of the cover crop itself, what heights it reaches, what the flowers might, what colors the flowers might be. And then I can't go into all the information, but similar to the filters, there's all this basic agronomic information, environmental tolerance information, planting information like the base seeding rate, min, and then considerations for termination. So by selecting that card, you just get all this information on the plant itself and how it's been used as a cover crop in that region. And it just gives you like the ability to search through and kind of just scroll through and find some information. So I use that often when I can't remember what I'm trying to think about when I'm talking about cover crops. So that's the one route. The second route is get a recommendation, and this ties the cover crop to a specific goal for what you as an advisor or what the farmer might be looking for. So it's still region specific, but then the list that follows or that is created off this is going to be goal focused. Left-hand side of the screen, you're going to have cover crop goals that you can pick 3 of. So in this case, I picked nitrogen fixation, closes canopy, and forage harvest value as just 3 random goals. Some of those probably don't make sense together, but I just wanted to illustrate that you can pick up to 3 goals. It's going to then ask you when are you going to be planting that crop, spring, summer, and fall, and will you irrigate? So do you have irrigation, or are you just going to do rain fed? This on the right-hand side of the window, you're going to be able to put in a cash crop growing window of like when your cash crop is actually in the ground. And all that does is create, and this will make sense here in a second, a bar, a colored bar in the calendar that I'm going to show you here in a moment. And then it also allows you to pick what is your cropping system. In any one of these windows that you will work through as you kind of mess with the tool, you can always go backwards and start over if you're interested. What I didn't show you too, just because of limitation of time and slides, is that you can actually create an account so that everything you do can be saved to like a list or to a folder that I might want to come back to and consider this cover crop, or you can just do it without signing in, without having a login. But so essentially here, I've selected 3 of these goals. I've said planting season spring, not going to irrigate. And what I get is a calendar and a list of the cover crops that meet those goals. So red clover is one of the best as far as what my goal number 1 was selected. Goal 2, not so great. Goal 3, fantastic. As we're moving across the calendar there, you'll see that there are orange or yellow bars that are showing you the rain-fed planting windows. So left-hand side of the screen, you're going to have similar options to the filters that I described earlier, where you can actually look again at what your goals are if you've forgotten. You can filter if the list was longer. There's only 2 here at this moment. And the legend is very helpful to know what you're actually looking at. So that yellow bar, because I selected no irrigation, I'm looking at the rain-fed planting window, the best time to get that crop into the ground in the region that I've selected and to meet the goals that I've also selected. I mentioned the cash cropping window. If you put in the cash cropping window, or you put basically the days that you're growing, what this does is just throws a pink bar. So let's say the cash crop window was May to August. It's just going to throw a pink bar up there. It doesn't really mess with the selection itself. It just gives you a visual of where that would be. On the right-hand side of that screen, you can also select the My Crop, and that will add that crop to basically like a folder, so you can keep track of things. If you're logged in, you can keep going back to that and just have a list of crops that you're interested in or that you might use in the future. Again, you can restart all the time and go backwards through the tool. I think the best thing for anyone who's interested in this is just to go in there and use the tool, click around, mess around. You're not going to break anything. It's free. We hope people go in there and just, really kind of click to see what information is available. The other really important thing is that this is the first version of the tool. On the homepage, when you're kind of looking at what you might do with the tool, there is at the top of the landing page for the cover crop selector, there is a feedback icon. If you see something that's not working or you see something that you feel like isn't correct, please put feedback in. We have been lucky enough to have some options that we can go back and make adjustments and make corrections if need be. And we'll kind of do that on a quarterly basis. But we went through an exhaustive review of this, but I'm sure there are mistakes in there. So I think I encourage everyone, what I've been telling everyone is just to go out to the tool, click around, play with the tool, and if you see something wrong, put feedback in and we'll continue to improve it. And I will stop there.
Oh, whoops, sorry guys, I was muted. Up next, we've got Laura to talk about another cover crop selection tool, and then we'll do the Q&A session after her presentation. So Laura, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Okay, I think I'm sharing my screen.
Looks good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I am going to share a user experience for a cover crop selection tool that I've been using in previous years, and I'm really excited for the Western Cover Crops Council's new, more regionally specific cover crop selection tool. But this is the one I've been using in the previous years, and just a quick little fly through to show some of the user experience aspects that I appreciate about it. So just a little bit about where I'm coming from. This is pretty small potatoes as far as agriculture goes, but we have a little 3/4 acre urban farm that we do programming through the city of Boise Parks and Recreation out of. I've done a couple of little different cover crop experiments, including this lawn to kind of a meadow cover crop rotation conversion using some of these cover crop selection tools. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And a couple of points about what I like about the green cover smart mix cover crop selection tool. They have a store there. It's a private company with their seed store attached to it. And they've got all kinds of options for purchasing different types of seed and individual seeds and seed mixes, and lots of information, kind of educational materials on YouTube. And then the Smart Mix calculator, which I am going to try to show you real quick. Here we go. Okay, so now I think you're seeing my web browser. Is that right?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, cool. So this is the jumping off point here. Their front page, and they've got a couple of different ways you can go here. You can go and shop for all of their seeds, and the cool part of that is they have these pre-made mixes which work for some of my smaller areas that I cover crop. They sell these in these 5-pound bags, which I appreciate. The shipping is actually feasible at that size because they're coming from the Midwest. Your shipping can, really escalate with the bigger purchases. So I like those small mixes. I also, let's see how I got the pre-made mixes. One of their cool mixes that I used was the Milpa Garden warm season cover crop mix, which had all these great edible species in there, which was really fun for our educational purposes. So I'm also going to show you their YouTube page is really robust. They've got their Smart Mix tutorials, which will last up to an hour to show you how to kind of navigate their cover crop selection tool, which is super helpful. So I always go to I always cross-check what I'm buying with the SARE publications and stuff like that as much as possible. But the seed selection mix is called Smart Mix right here. And this is how you jump into that. You go over to, you start an account, and you can have all your mixes that you've ever searched for in this free tool here, which is kind of nice. So if you bought a cover crop from a previous year, you can go back and see how it worked and switch it up a little bit, or you can start a new mix.
Three
So
and a half.
thank you. So I'm just gonna start a new mix real quick here. So call it a test, and we'll do 1 acre, which is the minimum that they will calculate for you. And we'll just fill in some information here, which will determine how they recommend these mixes. Oops. So no. Right, okay. No. Okay, that's not working. Boy, okay, I'm gonna go back, start over. Let's start here. So we'll continue with, whoa, okay, not working out. Okay, edit species. So you can go over to your mix and you can find, this is a mix that I've already made because I didn't want to go through all the details if it's not working right away. But so they have your mix set up for you after you've set up your goals. This mix was weed suppression, compaction breaking, increased soil organic matter. And then they have these previous crops that I loaded up here. They have a smart mix auto adjust feature up here at the top, which will automatically calculate your seeding rate. So if you have a mix, it's a percentage of the full seeding rate. And then you can go ahead and add species that you want to learn more about, or you want to try to see how they'll interact with your seed mix there. So given my my requirements for what I want out of the cover crop, they have ratings for the different crops that they think that will work well, given my season that I've chosen, my climate, and the following crops, all that good stuff. So one thing about it is it doesn't tell you why they think they're excellent or good, and which would be nice to have more information about that. But yeah, you can just go and choose more crops, add them to your mix, and it does this cool calculation for you. So it'll tell you how many pounds per acre you're going to need for each crop. And I use this for calculating my cover crop mix, and then sometimes I'll buy from this seed company, or check around the price and stuff, buy the heavy stuff locally for sure. But I use this free calculator a lot. It is Midwestern specific, so or they're based in the Midwest, so it's going to be really great to have more kind of Western options with the new cover crop tool. So that's kind of what I have to just fly through there real quick. And I will stop sharing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura and Nate. 2 cover crop selection tools at the ready. Does anybody have any questions for them?
I got a direct question that I'll bring up just for everyone. The question was, does the tool provide information on plant toxic issues when grazed by various species? And the tool does provide that information. I think it's in the goals section on the cards, but that information is listed somewhere if there are issues like bloat or whatever it might be. So that it does provide that information on the species itself.
Nate, does the Western Cover Crops tool provide input on mixes as well, or is it will it build that off of your goals? I can't remember whether you mentioned that or not.
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now it's single species, and at the beginning of this project, like 3 to 4 years ago, the hope was to have additional support tools. Right now, it's unknown if the funding is going to be available, but it was planned that there would be cover crop seeding rate calculator. I'm looking this up because I knew somebody would ask this. Cover crop nitrogen calculator and a cover crop economic decision support tool. So each one of those would build off what is already that we've already developed and other cover crop councils have done, and we're just waiting to hear if we have funding for that. But yes, hopefully.
Cool. Well, hopefully that funding comes through for you.
So, Travis, I'm going to put you on the spot. Hopefully, you're at your desk. I emailed Travis the other day about the Western Cover Crops Council tool, and he shared that he really liked it. And I was wondering, Travis, if you could share for the good of the group what functionality you appreciated in the tool.
Well, the most is to be able to filter stuff. I mean, that's awesome. Of all the tools that I've played with and used, that was my favorite part because you can go in and some of the challenges we've had with some of ours, NRCS had one there for a little while. Our tech center put together with the PMC folks. And the problem with it, when you pick like frost-free dates and other things, it was filtering stuff out that you didn't want to filter out in certain applications, like because maybe you want it to kill, but it was kicking it out, it was filtering things out. So I love that you can pick individual traits and filter things further after you kind of get your list of species. So that was super helpful. And I also love the fact that that detailed information is right there. Like once you pick your species and you're thinking, yeah, maybe this is what I want, you can drill down and see even more specifically what traits it has and also seeding rates and all that. So no, I love it. I think it's a great tool.
Nice. Yeah, Travis helped facilitate testing last year for the tool.
Oh, great. Cool.
Really
Excellent.
helpful feedback. Yeah. And then Laura, I know you said the green cover tool is geared towards, or it's a Midwestern developed. Have you had any, I guess, what successes and what failures have you had with the cover crops you've gotten in your mixes?
Well, one of the issues I had was I was a little bit worried about seed quarantines, the Idaho seed laws for importing seed. So I did get a mix once that had a bunch of beans in it, which I picked out by hand. So because I was a little worried about it, just being overly cautious, I think, because what I do is probably exempt for the size that I grow things out of. But that was one thing that I think is would be good to have more information about is, are there restrictions on what seed, how careful you need to be with where the seed is sourced from. So they did send me unlabeled, seed that wouldn't be a problem to grow in the Midwest and might be a problem here. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great to have regional information on the new tool related to that, I think. Otherwise, mostly the shipping concerns for, getting stuff out of the Midwest is kind of an issue for the seed, but yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, a couple of things.
That's great insight. Thank you. Yeah, Nate, did you mention, does the cover crop selection tool talk about restrictions with seed in the description?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I would have to look that up. I don't know off the top of my head. We do have specific information on for each state. I would have to look that up though. I can get back to you on that. It's a good question.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you, Nate and Laura. Do we have any other questions on cover crop selection tools? Okay. Well, not seeing anything, we'll go ahead and switch gears. Thanks again to Nate and Laura. And last but not least, we have Dr. Kabir from the NRCS Soil Health Division, and he is going to share with us today about soil health assessment and testing through the NRCS lens. So, Dr. Kabir, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So, hi everybody. So I just want to emphasize, NRCS has tools like, two key tools, that is in-field soil health assessment. Another is conservation, evaluation, and monitoring activities. In-field soil health assessment tools actually, let me see whether it can move. Okay, so what it does actually, measuring, we are diagnosing, all this, what is happening in the field. So if you are just doing a analogy to human health diagnostics, as just a medical, practitioners begin with a visual, examination before doing or ordering any test. So this is in-field soil health assessment, or IFSHA is doing it, to observe what happened in the field. And if you identify any resource concern, then we can conduct in-depth, soil health test. So this is a kind of proactive approach, allow us to make information actionable, recommendation for enhancing soil health practices for the producers. So here you can look at the soil. Let's see, I don't know, 1 second. Okay, so here you see there are a couple of criteria we are looking at. One is the soil cover, residue breakdown, water stable aggregates, and penetration resistance, ponding and infiltration, surface crust, root or biospore, biological diversity, and soil color, soil structure. I don't know how to, 1 second, I'm just trying to get rid of this writing. Anyway, so let's go to this. I'm having some issue on moving my slide.
It looks like the pen is on. Could you hit escape and then reshare?
Which one?
Oh, actually, it looks like your cursor is good to go. Can you click your right arrow key on your keyboard?
Okay. No, it doesn't do anything. Okay, here you go.
Oh, there you go.
I don't
Perfect.
know what happened. So this is the IFSHA, like in-field soil health assessment worksheet. So what we do actually, we are looking at the indicated timing and use. So when actually you are looking at it, whether after rainfall event or these are the symbols we have, or whether during the growing season or during the interview, all kind of things. So, and then we look at those, soil health resource concern. Those are the 4 resource concerns we have in here. And those resource concern is actually linked to a specific 3-digit code. You can see CP, T is the compaction. And here you can see then penetration, resistance, you can see only 1 resource concerns can be addressed. Whereas water stable aggregates, you can see the 4 resource concerns actually going to address. Sorry. So this is another one we are looking at that is soil health assessment decision tree for each resource concern. And each of decision tree actually specific assessment criteria. For example, you see the compaction, it shows only 5 criteria it has. And if the soil has only, plate structure, So it means, it is the compaction resource concern. And here you can see yes or no based on this. And three other resource concern, those are, it's the organic matter depletion, soil organism habitat loss, and aggregate instability. Those has 8 criteria, each of them. And if it is like in this case for this organic matter depletion, 3 or more indicators not meeting assessment criteria, that means, it has a depletion, a soil organic matter depletion resource concern. So this is the healthy soil. You probably know all these things here. The mineral part is only 45%. Air and water is going to be like around 50%, and 10% is going to be, or it actually holds 1 to 10% is the organic matter and soil biota. But if soil is compacted, this is the typical soil, then you see the mineral portion is actually really high, and the air and water space, that is pore space, is getting lower, smaller, so the microbes or any soil organism cannot stay there. And also you see the organic matter is much lower and biota is lower, or sometimes even no. So we need to look at those soil. This in the right side, you see the compacted soil. Although they are the similar kind of soil side-by-side plot, but because of the soil health practices like no-till and cover crops can change those soil, quite a bit. So, and we also going to talk a little bit about the SEMA, the 216. And here you can see we do also soil fertility test, right? So that is normally focusing on, that is 217, mainly focus on chemical capacity of the soil to support plant growth. Whereas SEMA 216, that is soil health, actually giving a holistic approach of the health of the soil. So in this case, we are looking at this soil. Actually, I collected from our previous directors from Cornell, and she was showing this soil, the Paxton silt flume soil, and its soil test value actually is much better compared to the same soil, but this nutrient, or the SEMA 217, when they did the test, they found this has much more nutrients compared to this one. But if you're looking at the right figure in here, you can see the soil color is different, right? So because of the high organic matter, and structure is much better in here. But whereas in this case, you see the soil crust formation, so that can compacting the soil in here. So this indicate that the soil health or the SEMA 216 is important for the holistic approach of the soil health. So what we actually do in SEMA 216, this is a 217 does, and in the middle column, we found that both it covers, SEMA 16, 217, and also 216. And the right column is going to give us the information about where's the soil respiration level, carbon, organic matter, soil aggregate stability, and microbial biomass and community structure. So what we actually examine, the key indicators in the soil health test, and this one, what is that actually aspect of soil function? We need to look at the soil function, like organic matter cycling, and how we are doing by measuring soil organic carbon, and then we are achieving. This is the goal. So we want to see what's the materials in there. Similarly, we have like soil structure stability. We measure the wet water aggregate stability, and actually we see are they building or the soil has the ability to retain its structure. And carbon food source, the labile carbon, or sometimes we call active carbon. So we measure it with the proxy and just wanted to see whether it's a food available for the soil organism this is the active part, so they are using those food for their growth. And microbial activity that we measure this as respiration, that and then the reason is that are they active and how are they breathing? If they are more active, they will breathe more. So in this case, another is bioavailable nitrogen. We measure with the autoclave citrate extractable protein, and then we can see is there any protein or organic nitrogen in there for them to break it down and eat by the microbes. So, and microbial community structure, we actually do like PLFA or soil enzyme. PLFA is doing like who and how many are actually living there. And also we measure the soil enzyme, the microbes always, secrete extracellular enzyme to capture those nutrients for them to grow and also it benefiting the plants. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kabir, for that introduction to the infield soil health assessment and SEMA 216. Do we have any questions for Dr. Kabir?
Dr. Kabir, I just wanted to say thanks for going through some of these soil tests, and we've heard about them a little bit at the beginning, and some of these are tests that are part of the SHAPE program. So I'm glad that you highlighted a few of these and talked about what they mean, because I know that can get confusing for folks because there's so many different metrics out there.
My pleasure.
Can you, so I know that we've gotten some questions from staff with SEMA 216 and interpreting results. I know there's some training coming up at the end of the month for that. Can you talk about examples, and maybe Kristen can speak to this too, but examples of how a soil health test result data is used to update management or change management? Like what are the action items that can be taken after you get your soil health test results?
Yeah, one example I can give you, I think Kristen maybe can add more. If you're looking at this, carbon source or labile carbon, and once is an undisturbed soil systems, and we try to, let's say, starting a tillage system. So first thing is that, most of the labile or active carbon bus actually is going to go down significantly. As you know, like inorganic matter is an stable organic matter, and some of them are, active part. So stable organic matter is remaining there like more, doesn't go change much, but then significantly reduce this active carbon part. That's why we are trying to measure this active carbon to see whether, those, replenish once you are doing conservation practices or the soil health practices like cover cropping or no tillage or conservation tillage, this kind of things. And yeah, these are the all these measurements actually helping to understand, whether soil is not just dead, is alive, and, it can they give you the results, but it's not that simple. One thing, you mentioned about when is that sampling has been done. One thing is, if you want to look at like microbial community, like phospholipid fatty acid or PLFA, or if you want to do some kind of soil enzyme activities, it's better to do sampling when the soil is, moisture level is more optimum and temperature is higher than 60. So 60 to 90 degree temperature is the best time to do the sampling. If it is, dry system, like you're trying to take the samples, most of the microbes, like 90% of the bacteria actually is inactive positions. So if you want to do PLFA or enzyme activities, you're probably not going to see those things there. So it's important when you are going to do the sampling and when you're going to measure those.
Any other questions for Dr. Kabir? I do see a comment from Barry back to Laura's presentation. He shared that green cover is a great resource, but freight is over $1 a pound.
I think he means $100
Okay.
a pound.
I was like, maybe that's 1,000. Okay, over 100 a pound.
I'm not sure. Assuming 100.
Okay. Okay, and it looks like we have Jared Gibbon shared that University of Idaho Extension in Madison County is hosting a soil health event March 4 in Rexburg. And for more information, you can contact him. Jared, would you like to share more about the event?
Yeah, we have a couple of sponsors too. I didn't get them on there, but we're able to bring in a couple of nationally known speakers on kind of the regenerative agriculture side of things. Dr. Tom Dykstra is going to talk about insect olfaction and how insects find crops to eat, and how we have healthy plants will not be attractive to insects. Dr. Don Huber is going to talk about micronutrients. We have some Sarah Coe is speaking on the human health connection as well. If you've seen this earlier, I unfortunately had a problem with our venue, and so we are I've got a couple options out right now. We will have it here in Rexburg still. I just have to get a new venue, unfortunately. So.
Oh man, that sounds like quite the undertaking. Close. We're so close now.
Not a fun plan, but yeah, it's a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing. This is a great forum to share that. Well, any other questions for any of our speakers today? Oh, Scott Patrick asked, is there a lab that does all of the soil function tests? And Scott, I can't tell if you're from the NRCS or not, but I did share a resource with information about labs that are doing this testing for SEMA 216 specifically.
Lucille, he's a grower in Twin, actually.
Oh, he's a grower in Twin. Okay, the short answer is yes. And I can provide that information, Scott, if you'd like, via email.
I think we have at least 4 soil lab is doing, but there are more others are coming also. Like Cornell does, Oregon State University is doing World Lab, Regen Lab, and there are others lab also coming in California. They actually wanted to do soil health tests.
Yeah, there may be one in Idaho coming online soon too. TBD.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we shall see. Okay, one more time. Questions for any of our speakers?
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because that sounded crazy now that I think about it earlier. $100 a pound would be outrageous. Barry said that he's paid $1.20 per pound on freight on 50-pound bags from Green River. So can get spendy, but certainly not 100. That was a definitely brain not working for that moment, thinking that through.
I believed you. So, all right, cool. Great for clarification on that. All right, well, not having any more questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much again to our speakers for taking the time and for folks in the audience that were engaged today. That makes it a wonderful experience for us. And want to share also that the next and last 5 for 5 of this season is taking place 2 weeks from now on February 25. We have a great lineup of speakers to share with us more about the connection between soil health and human health. It's going to be awesome. They're probably going to be talking, well, definitely going to be talking about nutrient density and the soil and human microbiomes. And so, yeah, this roundtable was recorded. So if you'd like to check it out later, it's going to be available on the University of Idaho College of Ag's YouTube page, which I shared the link for in the chat, along with the previous sessions of the 5 for 5. So thank you. Courtney, is there anything you want to announce before we get going? No? Okay.
No, yeah, just thank you for coming today, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.